Have you ever stopped to question all the things we put down to aging and ask, is it really about aging at all? I want to talk about aging today, and I want to talk about this because I've been having a lot of conversations with people in my world recently. In fact, I put a poll up on my Instagram page the other day and asked the question, if a genie offered you to look 10 years younger or feel 10 years younger, which one would you choose? And over 80% of the people that responded to that were like, feel 10 years younger. We all want to feel younger. And so I wanted to bring this topic up, and I asked myself while I was preparing for this discussion, what is the key thing that I want people to take away from this training today? And it's this: the prompt in the back of your head to question every symptom you've ever blamed on aging. Is it truly aging at all, or is it something that we could actually deal with if we made some different choices? So here's the thing: sore joints, we blame it on aging. Any sort of pain or accumulation of like pain or stiffness, we blame on aging. Weight gain, quite often we can blame it on aging. Poor sleep, cognitive decline, fatigue, even lowered sex drive, we blame this on aging. And I think we shortchange ourselves a little bit. And I've got two words that summarize how we shortchange ourselves when it comes to aging. And the first one is accepting. We just blindly accept that aging's a part of life, and so there's nothing we can do about it. And we kind of make jokes about it. Younger and younger people I hear are saying things like, feeling sore, feeling stiff, it's just because I'm getting old, and they're 30. And I'm like, okay. And the other part of it is, so we just accept it. Okay, it's a part of aging, we joke about it, it's kind of funny. The other part of it is we see everyone else doing it. It's so normalized. There's memes out there about it. It feels like everyone's just getting old. And so we just accept it. It's very normalized in our culture to blame aging for any kind of symptom that we have cropping up. And here's the thing: if everyone does what everyone does, everyone gets what everyone got. But what about the people that do something different? What about the 70-year-olds or the 60 and 70-year-olds out there that are still doing awesome things? They look amazing. They're still active, they're still doing fun stuff, they're really sharp. We look at them and we think, well, they're exceptions to the norm, right? They're just genetically blessed. Are they really, or are they actually making different choices to what everyone else is doing? And I want to just kind of raise this question for you, that maybe that's the case. Maybe there's more to it than just, it's a problem with aging, we're just getting old and there's nothing we can do about it. So that's the first word. And I think it's a real problem. We just accept that it is normal, and maybe it isn't. The other part of it is we can avoid it. And this is that it is a whole lot easier for us, it's a whole lot more convenient for us to not take ownership of the choices we've been making for the past 20 or 30 years that have led to the symptoms that we're now experiencing. It's easier for us to say, it's a part of aging, when maybe it wasn't at all. And I've got a bit of an example for you here on this one, and it is blood pressure rise. So blood pressure does tend to increase as we age, but it also increases when we're not looking after ourselves very well. So when our blood sugar's going up, when our weight is going up, when we're not moving enough, when we're stressed, when we're dehydrated, when we're not well slept, all of these things can also drive blood pressure up. And so if you go to the doctor and you've got high blood pressure, usually a great doctor will say to you, maybe lose some weight, etc. But they'll also offer you blood pressure medication. And this is really convenient, right? Because we don't have to take any ownership of the fact that probably the choices we've made have led to the high blood pressure. We can just take the medication and bring it back down. Ironically, blood pressure medication has some side effects most of the time for a lot of people. And these are things like fatigue, muscle pain, those sorts of things, which also are kind of things we blame on aging. So while we can take the medication, and there would be many other examples of this, I'm just using blood pressure as an example here, and it masks the symptoms, it doesn't get to the root of the fact that the problem didn't arise from a lack of blood pressure medication. It arose from the fact that we weren't providing the building blocks that our body needed to maintain healthy blood pressure. And I think aging on the whole, we do this, right? It's really easy to say, well, I'm getting old, so I'll take a painkiller. I'm getting old, so I'll take this. I'm getting old, so I'll take that. Rather than actually thinking, well, what changes could I make that allow my body to function better? And this brings me to kind of the perspective shift here, and the understanding that the human body is designed to heal, and it actually does it really, really well when we provide the building blocks and what it needs to do that, I think how I like to describe this is thinking about it a little bit like a savings account of health. When we're born with this buffer room, right? It doesn't, as children, we can kind of take a bit more of a hammering, we can sleep less, we can eat worse, we can move less or more or whatever, and we recover really quickly because we've got that kind of buffer room, that savings account of health, and we don't eat into it until we're sort of getting a little bit older. But depending on the choices you make through your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, etc., determines how much of that buffer room you eat into, how much of that savings account you eat into. And when you start feeling those things like sore joints that don't recover, or weight gain, or broken sleep, or low energy, brain fog, cognitive decline, that's when we've whittled away that buffer zone and we're dipping into an overdraft and we're feeling the consequence of our choices. So we really have the option at that point to either mask the symptoms and pretend it's not happening, or blame it on aging, or think, well, I've been making choices that have whittled away my buffer zone. How about I make some choices that build that back up? And absolutely, this is totally a doable thing. I see this happening with our clients in the program. We have clients that go through the body reset program, and within like 12 to even 16 weeks, they'll be saying things like, I feel 10 years younger, or I feel 15 years younger, or some of them even like, I feel better than I did in my 20s, which is outstanding, right? We have people in their 60s who are taking up strength training and building strong joints and feeling strong and feeling great. We have women in their 60s getting into bikinis and looking absolutely amazing because they haven't accepted the fact that aging is the reason they weren't feeling great. They've taken ownership of it. They're like, you know what? I want to do something about it. They put their actions where their mouth is and they do it and they get the results, and it works really, really fast. And that's why I wanted to have this discussion with you today, because it's been coming up a lot. We see and hear it on social media, and I think, you know what? We need to push back on this. It's not okay to be normalizing just aging when there's so much we can do for it. So I promised you some proven methods to help you to feel 10 years younger fast. I'm going to take you through these. These are things that we do with our clients. These are some of the key foundations of what get them the results that we get, and I want to share them with you today. So the first one is prioritizing sleep. Really interesting study was done in 2013 where they took 10 people. They took a photograph of their face at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon after a good night's sleep, after about 8 hours of sleep. And then they sleep deprived that same group of people. So they had no sleep for 31 hours, and then they took another photo just of their face. So they took those 20 photos, 10 well-slept faces, 10 tired, underslept faces, and then they presented those to a group of people who didn't know which photos were which, and they got them to rate them. And the photos that were the faces of the 10 people that hadn't slept were rated more tired looking, more droopy around their eyes, more puffy, more wrinkly, and generally older looking. And this was just one night of sleep deprivation. So it's visible on your face, one night of sleep deprivation. So here's the thing. If you want to look older, feel older, and absolutely tank your hormones as fast as possible, don't sleep. It's like a magic pill. It works every time, but it's not something that any of us want. But the opposite is, prioritizing sleep is not sexy, but it works. And there's a whole lot of flow-on effects that happen when we get sort of 7 hours sleep a night. And that is, once you're well slept, you wake up fresher, you wake up more cognitively clear, you wake up with better energy, and you're more likely to make choices through the following day that are health promoting and anti-aging. So things like, you're more likely to eat better, you're more likely to move more, you're more likely to have better energy that results perhaps in some exercise, and you're less likely to make choices that are not so good for your health, things like drinking alcohol or eating a lot of sugar or caffeine or those sorts of things that are a little bit more stimulant-like. So sleep prioritizing, while not necessarily sexy, is the crucial first step to feeling younger and feeling younger fast. The next one is avoiding skipping meals. There's this thing that happens, partly our digestive system does slow down a little bit as we age, and there's just a natural inclination to eat a little bit less. So there's a little bit that needs to be combated there. But the other part of it is, often we get busy, often we have a misguided sense of we need to diet or we need to fast or these sorts of things, and meals tend to get skipped. And there's a real problem with this. When you are not eating often enough, you'll tend to overeat, and you'll tend to overeat things that are higher in sugar and higher in carbs and higher in salt and all that sort of stuff. But when you're not eating often enough, you don't have energy during the day, when is the time of day that you might move more. And so there's a general lack of energy means a general lack of movement, and so there's this flow-on effect. Then when you don't move so well, you don't sleep so well, and when you don't sleep so well, and it comes very, very circular. But the other part to this is every meal that you eat is an opportunity to provide the nutrients that your body requires to rebuild itself out of that overdraft that you might have built over the years, to get itself out of a nutrient deficit. The fastest way to get yourself nutrient depleted is to skip quality meals. So we do this with our clients in the program. One of the first things we do is get them eating some consistent meals again, 3 to 4 meals a day, not only to provide that kind of consistent fuel source and energy, but to provide the nutrients like the protein and the minerals and the B vitamins and the essential fatty acids to repair your body and to keep it feeling young and healthy. So number 1, prioritize 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. Number 2, get in 3 to 4 meals a day minimum. And number 3 is strength training. We talk a lot about movement and about exercise and body reset because it's a really important part, but I want to focus here purely on strength training, and there's a reason for this. Strength training is something that everyone should be doing, and it's something that a lot of people are not doing. Because it's about muscle mass, we kind of think that it's a sport. It's about bodybuilding, it's about looks, it's about vanity, but it's not. It's about living well. Your muscle mass is your organ of longevity, is what Dr. Gabrielle Lyon calls it, and I think she's not wrong. Your muscle mass is what protects your joints. Your muscle mass is what protects your metabolic health. Your muscle mass protects your brain and cognitive function, and if we're not using it, we risk losing it, and once it's lost, it's a whole lot harder to get back as we are aging. So here's the thing: if you have sore lower back, sore knees, sore elbows, sore shoulders, moving and training really intentionally can help to improve the healing and the recovery of those and reduce pain in those sore areas. Obviously, you're not going to go and do something ridiculous. You've got to do it carefully, but moving well can help to improve and reduce pain, stiffness, and fatigue, and protect further injuries. One of the things that really takes elderly people out is falling and breaking a hip. Now, and then what happens afterwards is more likely to get infection or just a slow recovery because the body is older, etc. But if we go right back to the first part, what led to the fall in the first place is a lack of balance, a lack of strength, and a lack of control of joints and stuff like that, which can be mitigated by maintaining good muscle mass. So muscle mass is very, very protectant as we age. So it protects our joints. It can reduce pain, which is really, really cool. There's a release of anti-inflammatory molecules that happens when you contract a muscle that can reduce pain and improve healing. It improves our cognition because it improves that kind of blood flow to the brain and looks after our brain health, and it improves our metabolic health. So blood sugar, blood pressure, cholesterol, all of those sorts of things which tend to increase as we get older can be mitigated when we're looking after our muscle mass. So these are the 3 things: prioritizing 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, getting 3 to 4 good solid meals a day, and getting 2, 3, ideally 4 lots of resistance training into your week. And trust me, build those anchors in and you'll feel a whole lot younger really, really quickly. At least that's what I see happening with the people that we're working with in the program. If you want to explore these topics, these 3 things a little bit more, I've got a giveaway for you that has a bunch of our top resources in it that look at all of these on a deeper level that I'd love to offer you. It'll be linked below here, and it dives into some of these in a little bit more detail so you can explore them a bit further. And if you want to, you can always reach out to us and see whether working with us directly is something that's going to help you out. If you want to feel younger and feel better and this is your year to do it, give us a yell and we will chat you through all the options there. Have a great day, guys. See you next time.